Do you naturally avoid conflict in your relationship? Yes? Well, join the club, and it's a large club. Now, when was the last time? When was the last time you avoided an interaction just to avoid the discomfort or to keep the peace in that moment? Was it this morning? Was it yesterday? Was it last week? Because if this is an approach you use often in your close relationships, then it's likely that your relationships are either suffering or they're just not reaching the heights they could. In this video, I want to help you with 3 steps to strengthen your capacity to walk towards conflict when you need, to open up and have the difficult interactions rather than avoiding them. My name's Dadley-Moore. I'm a conflict and communication coach and a family mediator, and this channel is here to help you improve your relationships by leveling up your communication and leveling up your conflict skills. Avoidance is one of the 5 approaches to managing conflicts. Now, all 5 approaches are useful in different situations. However, avoidance has very limited use as a conflict approach in intimate relationships. It's really only useful if you've got concerns for your own or other people's safety, or the environment or the timing of a conflict is wrong. And it can also be a culturally appropriate approach to conflict. However, avoidance can also cause massive problems in long-term relationships. Whilst avoiding conflict, this obviously minimises discomfort in the short term. The conflict, however, often continues and it magnifies. It gets worse, not better. Nothing gets addressed and nothing gets resolved. And unresolved issues in relationships, they stack up. And over time they result in people getting withdrawn from each other. There's distance and separation. It can lead to people feeling stuck. It can lead to them resenting the fact that their needs are rarely or never met. Maintained over a number of years, people end up being a long way apart. Now, this is best understood as what I see as the 1 degree rule. If we journey 1 degree apart from someone for a short term, we remain really close. But over a large distance and a longer period of time, 1 degree apart ends up with people kilometres apart, sometimes worlds apart. Now, every week people approach me, they come and tell me, I've been having problems for years, Simon. I've been unhappy for 5 years. I've been unhappy for 3 years. And then their partner tells me, this is a complete surprise. I thought we were doing okay. Now, sometimes this can be due to one partner being in denial, but the majority of the times it's the avoidance of conflicts that gets relationships to this point. There's definitely a cost to relationship avoidance. And on the flip side, there's also a lot to be gained from overcoming conflict avoidance. Those gains include obviously improved conflict resolution skills, but also our needs being met and happier relationships. So what can you do to learn how to stop avoiding conflict? Well, here are 3 steps that are going to help you on your way. The first is to change the way you relate to conflict and conflict avoidance. Often the first step in any change is to change the way we think. Because when you change the way you think about something, you change your relationship with that something. And when you start seeing conflict through a different lens with new eyes, it starts to look very different. Conflict really, it's got a bad rap. Most of us have been conditioned to believe it creates problems, it's harmful, it's bad, it doesn't feel good, it's traumatic, it can lead to relationship breakdowns, and therefore it's just something best to avoid. Where the reality is conflict's a normal, natural, and necessary part of any intimate relationship. Conflict itself doesn't create or cause problems. It's the way we engage in conflict. It's the way we behave when we're in conflict that can create the problems. Now, conflict has 2 faces, the destructive and the creative. Conflict just doesn't have to be a fight or a battle. We don't need to be at the mercy of its destructive side. Creative, constructive, and healthy conflict is possible, and this can lead to healthy, creative, constructive relationships. Conflict is an opportunity. It's an opportunity for us to strengthen and deepen our relationships, and an opportunity for us all to become better human beings. Now, Please, if you haven't already, watch the videos on transforming relationship conflict and the hidden costs of relationship conflict to dig deeper into all this, because these two videos were created specifically with this first step in mind to help you change the way you think about conflict. Okay, when it comes to changing the way you think about conflict avoidance, please first explore the underlying reasons for your avoidance. Now, usually avoiding conflicts due to some underlying fear. So, what are you fearful of? Is it your partner getting angry? Is it the night being ruined or your relationship ending? Is it being alone or being judged as unreasonable or irrational, emotional, stupid? Is it being not good enough or being unloved? Also ask yourself, what needs of yours are you trying to meet when you avoid conflict? Being liked, being loved, being seen by others as a good partner or a good friend, or being reasonable or easygoing. Uncovering these needs and our underlying fears can help reduce their hold over us. Okay, another area to reflect on is our childhood. The first place we learn about conflicts in our family of origin with our parents and siblings. Did you learn conflict avoidance as a coping or survival strategy as a child? And if so, who did you learn it from? And how did it serve you then? And is this still necessary and serving you now as an adult? Once you've considered the reasons, now also reflect on the price you're paying for your avoidance. What's the consequence? Whilst you might be gaining short-term peace and a surface level of comfort, ask yourself, what price am I paying for avoiding conflict in my relationship? What's this costing me? What are the drawbacks? Does avoidance leave you feeling resentful and angry, anxious? Do you feel depressed sometimes or stuck or lonely? Are you really living the life you want? Are you losing yourself within the relationship? What needs of yours continue to go on unmet? As well as costing you, conflict avoidance also costs your partner and your relationship. It prevents your partner and your relationship the opportunity of conflict, the opportunity to grow and evolve and improve. It prevents the very thing, an improved relationship, a good healthy relationship, that you're probably hoping for and trying to achieve by avoiding the conflict. Now, hopefully observing these negative effects of conflict avoidance will also help you with the motivation and courage required to make the changes. The aim of step 1 is to shift your thinking, your understanding, your awareness, your motivation, and your resolve to open up and walk towards your conflicts more often. So now that you've changed the way you relate to conflict, the second step is to change the way you relate to yourself in conflict. Both internally, your feelings, your thoughts, your body sensations, and also externally in how you behave. This is about strengthening your capacity to regulate yourself. Now, our behaviour, what comes out of us, always starts inside of us with our feelings, our thoughts, and our body sensations. And learning tools and techniques to help manage stress, anxiety, discomfort is essential, as these feelings are often present before and during conflict. And the reality is, we're often using conflict avoidance as a technique, as a tool to manage these difficult feelings. And when you learn other techniques, you just don't need avoidance to manage how you feel. There's a heap of information and tools to be found on the internet. I'll also record some videos on this in the weeks to come. But have a look at techniques for grounding, centering, calming. It's likely you already have some practices that help you as well. Exercise, running, yoga, maybe you do meditation, maybe you've got breathing exercises. Do you go walking? What do you do to help you find calm? Hot baths, cold showers, being in nature. These are all examples of activities that help us regulate ourselves to find an inner calm. So do some research, try out some new approaches, find out what works for you. Now, learning tools and techniques to help manage our thinking is also important. At any time you can ask yourself, What am I thinking about this situation? What evidence do I have to prove that these thoughts are accurate? Because the chances are that the thoughts you're having, especially in conflict, will involve distortions. Now, I've developed a free mini course on cognitive distortions. These are patterns of thinking that involve inaccuracies, thoughts that trick us into believing things about ourselves and others and the world around us that just aren't true. We all have these patterns, they're universal. If you've got a mind, you've got distortions. So download this mini course now and learn something new about yourself. This learning will help you better regulate the thoughts you have rather than allowing those thoughts to be in control of you. Okay, when it comes to changing the way we relate to our own behaviour, the question to ask is, are there any areas of your life that you're already confident in conflict? Are there any exceptions to your conflict avoidance? I once met a woman who found it exceptionally difficult to be anything other than passive and agreeable with her partner, but was bold and confident in the sporting field. She was known by her team as the Destroyer. I also know many people who have no problem advocating for their children at school. They just march right into the school office with surety and confidence, but they'll avoid conflict and find it difficult to hold boundaries in their family life and in their relationship. Please look for these exceptions. Look for these alternate stories, and they're almost always there. And when you find the exceptions in your life, ask yourself, what can I learn about myself here? What does this behaviour say about me? What do I need to do to transfer this strength and confidence across into my relationship with my partner? Now, the third step is to take action, to get out there and practice, to take a risk and see what happens. It's best to start small. And one area to practice is in setting boundaries. Start saying no to things that don't excite you, to things you might normally say yes to because you feel you should, or to make others happy. Now, if you find this really hard, then it might be useful to understand that every time you say no to someone else, you're actually saying yes to yourself. Start saying yes to yourself more. Yes to a break. Yes to a night off. Yes to a space in your life because you didn't agree to fill that space meeting someone else's needs. Another small area to start is speaking up in situations that you usually wouldn't. Maybe the food you bought at the cafe wasn't warm enough, or you bought something from the supermarket that was already out of date, or reminding a good friend that they haven't yet done what they said they would. And then after you've been practicing holding boundaries and speaking up outside your relationship, start bringing this practice back to small issues in your relationship. Plan what you want to say and how you want to say it. Make a list of points you'd like to cover during discussions. Be ready. Be non-confrontational. Start the conversation talking about yourself, not about your partner. I feel, or my experience is that. Remember, conflict doesn't have to be a fight, and it doesn't have to be scary. Also, start looking to address conflicts early. Walk towards issues and deal with them whilst they're small, instead of delaying a discussion and allowing an issue to grow big and evolve into a bigger beast, as they often do. If you speak up as soon as you can, as soon as there's an issue, you'll find that conflict's easier to manage. So what are you going to take away from this video? Are you just going to watch this and move on? Or actually take some of this learning and create change in your life? My challenge for you today is to commit to these steps, put in the effort, start now. Don't move on with your day until you've made a plan of what you'll do next and when you're going to do it. The more you practice, as with most things, the better you'll get. And then keep an eye out for what difference this makes in your relationship and in your life. Look for progress, not perfection. Now, if you follow these steps and continue to struggle without progress, you might benefit from working one-on-one with a counsellor or a therapist to help develop a more individualised plan. Please leave me any questions or comments below. Also, let me know if you'd like more videos on conflict avoidance or more of a deep dive into anything I've introduced into this video. Please share this video to anyone you know who has strengths in conflict avoidance. Thank you, have a great week ahead, and be kind to yourself out there.